What you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Volume 4, Episode 1 of the new and improved Fantasy Formula, your one-stop shop for all of your fantasy football news and Las Vegas inside information. After a one-year hiatus, we find our fantasy heroes back in the saddle again, preparing to provide our lovely listeners with the tools, research, and confidence to bust up your bookie and humiliate your fellow league members. Sitting to my right, a DDAH founding father and winner of 1 championship ring. Is that right? 2 championship rings. He's been a guest host many times, but now he sits in the big chair as the Fantasy Formula's new co-host. He's the real estate renegade, the sell your house in a minute before the buyer even been up in it. He's the I played college b-ball, but I ain't got to brag, y'all. He's the one, the only Hank, the Shark Tank Eimer.
Whoa, that was nice. That was nice. Hey, that was a lot of review right there, brother. Yes, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, glad to have you. And manning the main microphone, just leave this man alone. He don't need to wear cologne because he's sweet as an ice cream cone. He's Chad, the Hitman. Where's that bell?
There we go.
Hank,
Yo.
we're back. We're back, baby.
We're back.
How you doing today,
Oh,
sir?
my gosh. I could not be any more pumped about sitting in this seat across from you.
Yes, sir.
Getting ready to talk about what we're getting ready to talk about.
Well, it's good to see you too, buddy. And to our listeners, our loyal listeners who had to go a year without us, I know it's been tough on y'all, but guys, we had to hold out. What we had to do, before the Fantasy Formula, we were just getting started. We were making our way slowly but surely. We were kind of cramped in this dark little dungeon of a closet, and they had us, in a corner. But we held out, and guess what now, boys? We live in the high life. We up in the penthouse, the biggest building in Hickory, North Carolina, 6 stories tall, drinking champagne with popping bubbly up in here.
Top floor.
Top floor. So if you need a water, if you need a bag of Cheetos, This is all we got to do. And they'll bring it in to us because, they know that we're valuable to the Mesh Network. So, Hank, we're here. We're back.
It took me a while to find it. It's up. It's hidden. It's hidden.
It's hidden.
Lock and key.
Did you have to use that special key card?
Key card.
Yes.
Key card. They had that retina scanner.
Yeah.
Second door was retina scanner. But
Only the best.
It's impressive. I love the new digs.
Yeah.
It's
cool
pretty
in
sweet in here.
Very cool.
Very cool.
We are missing one important piece to the Fantasy Formula.
Absolutely.
I'm referring to Addison Fox. He was here for 4 years, and he'll always be in our heart, and he'll always be in our soul. But he caught something, Hank. I don't know if you heard about this. It's terrible news.
I'm worried already.
Yeah, it was called the fantasy flu. And what happened? Oh, God.
I've seen it once before.
He finished last place 3 years in a row.
Oh.
And,
I can't hold back my tears.
Yes, we just could not have him back on the show. But anyway, he will be a guest host once he, takes his medicine and gets that last place, that fantasy flu out of his system. He will be back to check us out and talk to our listeners.
Let's get it out of here, though. I don't
want to catch it.
We don't want to contaminate this building.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Exactly.
So, Hank, we're back, buddy. And, it's like I mentioned, it's good seeing you here. There's a lot of things to look forward to. Got the summertime, some other wonderful things that maybe you were talking to me before the show started. What do you love about this time of the year?
I'll tell you, it's magical. First of all, you're getting away from summer and really starting to feel like football's coming towards you.
Yeah.
So at this time of year, we've got baseball, a lot of games. If you're a fan or not, it's starting to get a little bit You're waiting for a new season, right?
They call it the dog days of summer for a reason.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. But, as you're starting to walk towards football season, fantasy has made it something special. Not only are you anticipating your draft, but there's some other homework that needs to be done, okay? And trying to put this into a 24-hour day is really tough. You're going to lose sleep. You're going to lose time. Friendship could be hurt by this.
Possibly a wife. I mean, she might say, forget this. You're looking at your computer 18 hours a day trying to get this fantasy research.
Right.
How about me, darling?
How about
me, darling?
How about me time? I get it. But we are packing our days full, and they're only going to get worse, okay? Right now, I'm trying to watch the Olympics. I'm trying, you got work, kids, everything involved. Now, probably one of the more important events of the year is right around the corner, okay? You have to do research. I couldn't even relax at the beach, Chad. I couldn't even relax at the beach. I had to do research because I know everybody in our league is doing research.
Absolutely.
Right? So as an owner, you have to be prepared for the draft,
Yes.
correct? And that's in multiple facets, okay? Some people just like to come in, grab a magazine, make their pick. I feel sorry for those people.
Yeah.
I really
Those
do.
people finish last, Hank.
They do.
They finish last.
They get the flu.
They do.
They get the flu. Okay? So when you're going into this, you not only have to prepare for what's coming around in the next round, but really you have to set a mindset. Like, get your mind around who your team is. Okay? And it starts with your name.
It's very important.
It is. It starts with your name.
Yes.
And some people ride the same name every year. I won't have it. I don't tolerate it because they're not putting any time in.
Right.
Okay, let's get creative, folks. Okay, let's make T-shirts. How about a hat? Maybe a magnet. I don't know for your call.
Wonderful. Beer koozies?
That's
How
a
about a
thought.
flag? A simple flag.
I think flags are awesome.
Yes.
I think they're great. But I do feel like people should do a little bit more to represent the team. When you click to open your fantasy team, you should feel like you're at home.
Yes.
You should. And your name is the first part of that. Okay? It's like an address. It's like a front door.
It's beautiful.
It
Yes.
is.
This is
So I feel like this year, moving forward, and everybody listening to this podcast, let's take a few seconds before we walk into that draft. Let's get creative and let's pick a team name that's going to work. Okay? You don't have to go to the extent of Fantasy Nostradamus. Okay? I mean, he was a genius. He picked what place everybody was going to finish that year and provided shirts with old pictures on them provided by people in their past. But
let me add this, one of the finest drafts we ever had.
It was a good
because
draft.
of the creativity.
It was a good draft.
Yes.
But I don't expect people to go to that kind of level, but just come in ready to make a difference.
Even if it's a song you want to play as your intro song as you walk up to place your team name and your first pick on the board. Simple as that.
Right.
You know?
You don't have to hire a celebrity to come in and
course
do
not.
your first pick, but let's have something ready.
Sure.
Maybe some face paint. I don't know. Let's get crazy. Let's do something that's a little bit off. Then your mind's going to be ready. Then you're going to find yourself in the Ring of Champions.
Yes. And that's where you want to be, in the Ring of Champions.
That was impressive.
Thank you.
But I'm with you, man. This time of year is magical. And I think we have a great league. I will say that. We've got some great people in our league. And I feel like everybody, their year is highlighted right here. And if you don't have a league that you don't have that kind of buy-in, that's your first mistake. You got to find buddies that are going to put as much sweat, tears, and energy, regardless of how terrible their teams are,
Right.
into it. So that maybe one day they'll be in the Ring of Champions. Maybe one year they're going to be up there.
The more you put in, the more you get out, ladies and gentlemen. And, as Hank mentioned, it's the creativity, it's the fun. That's what makes the draft wonderful. That sometimes you don't get to see your boys that are in your league maybe once or twice a year. Make it count. Do those things to make it memorable. Let the fantasy formula, let us drop the knowledge for you week in and week out to tell you maybe who to look for, who's injured, what sleeper to grab off your waiver wire. But for the draft, you guys come up with some creative ideas and make it something worthwhile.
Right. Hey. That was beautiful.
Wow.
That was
well
beautiful.
done. That's how you get back into the saddle. The fantasy formula. Great first segment, Hank. Let's move on to the second one.
Hey,
well done.
let's move.
All right. This next thing, guys, as many of you know, we got some listeners from Raleigh. I've got a league in Raleigh, a couple in Hickory, and I don't know if you guys remember, but we had some loyal listeners in China before. We had some in Vietnam, all over the place. International. Yeah, this show is going international. You can actually download us on iTunes, and we'll give you some more of that information a little bit later on. But if anybody remembers me, I had a couple draft strategies that I would depend on year in and year out. And, for the late 90s, early 2000s, they worked really well, Hank. But it's not the late 90s anymore.
Oh, no.
It's not even the early 2000s. What year is it, Hank?
I believe it's 2016.
I think I'm about 14 years behind the time. So if you'll give me a second, I'm going to get my keys out and pry into my treasure chest of old draft strategies.
Oh, that is old.
Look into this chest here, Hank. I'm going to pull out a couple draft strategies that I used to focus on back in the day. First, let me undo this scroll.
I don't know.
Oh, there it comes. Okay, let me knock the cobwebs off. Okay, Hank, the first draft strategy I'm talking about, I used to draft running backs. I would draft them first round, second round, third round. I would take as many running backs as possible because I used to believe that as long as you were deep in running backs, you were going to be set to make the playoffs and hopefully make a run to the Super Bowl.
Sure.
Those strategies, Hank, they passed us. What's replaced them?
Well, they have passed us, and any good, knowledgeable fantasy owner will see that. But you'll still see it in your leagues. We're going to see somebody, and I'm pretty sure I know what spot he's in our draft.
I know that guy.
And he is going to take 3 in a row. He will. Mark our words, after our draft, you will have me come in here, and I will tell you that person's name, and he will do that.
Yes.
So, with that being said, I'm with you. It has changed. The NFL has changed. Running backs are not getting the ball as much as they used to. They're not as dependable as they once were. And other positions are scoring fantasy points a lot easier, and they're more dependable. So this year, like the top 3 players could be wide receivers.
Yes.
Last year, we saw quarterbacks going in the first 5 picks. So has it changed? Absolutely. Absolutely. The new strategy, I think, is best fantasy player is who you pick. If you can pick 3 receivers first, or a running back, a receiver, and a quarterback, you have to go. You cannot strategize, this is the position I'm going after.
Right. Let me add something to that. I agree. It's a wide receivers game right now. Running backs getting pushed a little bit back because, as you mentioned, the NFL just doesn't run their offense through running backs. It's like more running back by committee. You have a third down back that comes in, so you can't focus on the running backs as much. But when I go back into this treasure chest and pull my other old strategy, it was quarterbacks, get one early. Well, forget about it, dude. The quarterbacks in 2016 for your fantasy teams, they are deep.
Real deep.
Where before, a Peyton would go number 1 overall, or Drew Brees number 5, Aaron Rodgers 7. Well, now, first quarterback, you might get 1 or 2 in the first round, maybe straggling into the second, but your Drew Brees might go in the 4th or 5th. Ben Roethlisberger, 7th. Andrew Luck, 4th. You've got Eli in the 10th or 11th.
Right.
So, guys, the days of drafting quarterbacks early, be patient. I know it'll stress the hell out of you because you're like, oh my gosh, there goes Cam off the board in the second. Right. Aaron Rodgers right after him. Be cool.
Chill.
Just be cool. Right. Load up on your wide receivers, the best availables. As Hank mentioned earlier, the best available, but not quarterback. Just wait a little bit.
Absolutely.
It'll fall to you.
Absolutely. And if you look, still the Tyrod Taylors, they're still falling deep. And they were some of the best quarterbacks of the year last year.
Fantasy quarterbacks, of course. Oh, and we're not ready to talk about sleepers, but while we're talking about it, let's think about this. So, Kirk Cousins, he plays for the Washington Redskins. He had a pretty good year last year, enough to give him the franchise tag. He's got weapons galore, right? He's got weapons galore. Dude, he's not even getting drafted until he's like the 10th round.
Right.
10th round. So you can get some productivity with your quarterback late round. So I'm glad we talked about that. Next. All right. another strategy, and I never implemented this draft strategy when I was actually doing well in the late 90s, early 2000s, but tight ends, I was never a real big tight end guy, and you know what, guess what? This year I'm not going to be a big tight end guy either anyway. So if you don't get Gronk in the first round or late second, it might be smart to wait on your tight ends as well. You've got your second tight end off the board. I think it's Jordan Reed or Greg Olsen, right? They're falling into rounds
4 or 5.
4 or 5?
Right.
I'm probably not even going to go 4 or 5 for those guys. I'm going to get some more value with my wide receivers and maybe another running back. I'm going to try to grab my tight end a little bit late. You'll know this guy, Hank. His name is Ebron from Detroit. He's an old Carolina Tar Heel, right? They're saying he's having a wonderful camp. This is his 3rd year in the league. Tight ends normally flourish 3rd to 4th year. This could be his year, and he's not even getting drafted in 15 rounds. You know, he's being able to be picked up on the waiver wire. So maybe you wait on a tight end as late as round 14, or you pick one up on the waiver wire. Who knows? But what I'm telling you is you don't need one early.
Right.
And lastly, this has been a rule that we've stuck to, a draft strategy that Hank and I have adhered to for many, many moons now. So we wait on our defense. I'll speak to me. Hank, you might grab your defenses a little early, but I always wait to my defense to almost the 2nd to 3rd last round is what I'll do.
Right.
And then always, 99.9% of the time, I'm grabbing my kicker the last round, or I won't even draft one. I'll just pick one up off waiver wires before the season starts.
Right. It makes me smile to see somebody take Seattle in the 8th, 9th round.
Sure.
Because, I mean, they're going to be great, and they're going to give them a couple of points more than, whatever defense I go with is. But to be completely honest, it's going to allow people – it does start a feeding frenzy when somebody picks that defense. And then next thing you know, it's Denver, Seattle, Arizona. They start going down that road, and it leaves maybe that wide receiver, that 4th wide receiver that's maybe a rookie, a sleeper that you can slide on your team. Mm-hmm. I'm the same way. If you can pick your defense up, maybe I even like the last pick because you have a couple of weeks before the season starts. I don't pick up a kicker.
Right.
Let's figure out if any of these first round these draft picks get hurt.
Sure.
You may be able to drop one. Let's see, if somebody gets arrested or, whatever it is. Let's figure that out, drop them, then pick up a kicker.
Absolutely, because think about this. I'm looking at the average draft, the ADP right now. And so would you rather have like a wild card on a Devin Funchess, right? Let's say in the 9th or 10th round, or Seattle's D. You're going to take a wild card on a skilled player all day because you can get the same value, maybe not as good as Seattle's D, but maybe just a notch below 5 rounds later. And you're grabbing the Devin Funchesses. You're grabbing the let's see who else, the Shane Vereen's, the Theo Reddicks. You're getting that value in those late rounds. Alfred Morris's, exactly. Or some of the rookie running backs that are all spread all over the teams this year. So, yes, man, hey, that's Draft Strategy 101. We reached back into our old treasure chest. We found some old strategies that we're putting away. You know what? I might just burn these old scrolls.
They're not going to work again.
Not again. We'll keep these new ones. So, guys, remember, it's a wide receiver game these days. Running backs being pushed further and further back. Quarterbacks are deep. Try to grab them late. Even after the 5th or 6th round, you can still grab value. You don't want the number 1 tight end. If you don't want Gronk, wait until later to grab your tight ends and defense in the 2nd or last round and kickers in the last round.
Good info, Chad.
Thank you.
Great
Hank.
info.
Very nice segment.
That was.
Somebody's got to pay for this high-rise penthouse room we're staying in here, Hank. So if you have a few seconds, let's take a break to thank our sponsor, and we'll be right back with you.
Hi, I'm Alan.
I'm Chris.
And we're the co-hosts of Foot Candle Films, a movie review and film discussion show here on themesh.tv.
Each episode, we talk about some new movies, cover some film news, and have some recommendations.
And trust us, we're just as likely to talk about the latest Jim Jarmusch film as we are the newest Transformers installment.
Hold on, don't get too crazy.
Well, okay, maybe not that bad. But you can find our show and all our episodes on themesh.tv. Plus, you can subscribe to get new episodes delivered right to your computer or mobile device.
We'll see you in the ticket line.
All right, right, guys, we are back. Thank you to our wonderful sponsor who helps make this podcast possible. Hank, what we want to jump into our next segment. Let's look at the top 20 players. We call it ADP. They're the people that are getting drafted in the top 20 slots on average in all of the mock drafts you see on ESPN and Yahoo and CBS Sports. We're going to start at the top. And as you mentioned, or as we talked about our last segment, wide receivers are really starting to take the forefront when it comes to these drafts. As you can tell, the number one slot held by Antonio Brown, followed by Odell Beckham Jr. of the Giants, and then you've got Adrian Peterson on this one at 3, but I've seen Julio as high as top 3 too.
Absolutely.
Out of those 3, let's say Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham, and Julio Jones, which one do you feel the most comfortable selecting if you had the number one overall slot?
Which I do have the number one overall slot.
Oh, congratulations.
I do have it.
Oh, so this is actually...
This is going to be very therapeutic for me.
Cool.
This is going to be right down my alley. So all of the 3 of them are incredible athletes. They're going to be on, I feel like, good teams. They've got some weapons around them. Antonio Brown is a special player. And I feel like if his season, especially when Bell comes back and gives him a little bit of a cushion out there, as long as Roethlisberger can stay healthy, he is going to have a special, special year. So sitting at the number 1 spot, I think Antonio Brown just is slightly above the other 2. Not that if I were in the 2 or 3 spot, I'd love to have either one of these guys.
Sure.
But I think, anytime you enter a season and you're willing to put your Bentley or a Porsche or a Rolls Royce up against another receiver, you're going to have a pretty special year. And I like that confidence, and I feel like I'm going to ride that train.
Man, you can't go wrong there. You said Antonio Brown just slightly above those 2. Dude, I think he beats him in a landslide. He's got this. I'm not saying the other 2 don't have this heart and this desire, but Antonio Brown's still playing on this contract. He's hardly making any money.
Right.
This is the year that he says, Pittsburgh, you can't win without me. Pay up.
Right.
So he's going to show them what it's all about this year. Antonio Brown, clear-cut number 1 favorite. So I love that pick from you. If I were to rank them, the 3 receivers there, I'd go Antonio Brown. I'm going to give that nod to Julio. Just slightly. The reason, Beckham to me, he's a head case, and that helps him.
Right.
But, dude, I can see him going, remember last year he went butt wild against Josh Norman of the Panthers? He should have gotten kicked out of the game. Sure. I think he was suspended again. Anyway, I just don't trust him as much.
Right.
That's the only thing.
Right.
Julio, to me, is more professional. Julio's got a lower ceiling. Lower ceiling, higher floor, where Odell Beckham's got a higher ceiling.
Sure.
He could reach higher, but I might go for a safer pick there.
Right. I agree with you. And I think that, both of them have very experienced quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And so, you're not going to get away from there. Both of them have terrible arms, both quarterbacks. So they're not going to show that deep ball just like Roethlisberger will. But I'm with you.
Yeah.
Beckham is going to make some spectacular catches. But after seeing what he did in Carolina last year, that'd worry me too.
A little worrisome. Let's hit the next few. And granted, guys, we're taking this data from the ADP, this one specifically ESPN. So you're going to see a couple running backs in here, and a couple running backs are going to go early. It's kind of like you juggle them up and down, whichever one you pull out a hat you can take. But we've got Adrian Peterson. We're going to say he's in the 4 hole. Todd Gurley, 5. Ezekiel Elliott at 6. So we've got 3 running backs back to back to back. Give me a little thought on that. Who would you take out of those 3? I'd say if you had the number 4 pick and the 3 receivers are gone in front of you.
Right. I don't think I can trust Adrian Peterson to hinge on my very first pick. He's had several years under his belt. We all know what happens to running backs as they get a little bit older.
Sure.
He's had injuries before in the past. I don't think he's my guy. The rookie, I know you like him, and I think there's a lot of weapons, and he could be very successful, but he wouldn't be my guy either. Mm-hmm. I think I'd go with Gurley. I think Gurley's tough.
Yeah.
I think he wants the ball. I think he's ready to run, and I think his team needs him.
Because they ain't got nothing else, buddy. They've got nothing.
Nothing.
See, that's actually what worries me about him. So if I were to rank him, I know Ezekiel Elliott's going through some stuff right now. He's got a domestic violence, something brought up against him. He's fighting an ankle or a hamstring too. So anyway, it started all pretty bad for this cat, right? But if you watch him play at Ohio State, if you've seen Dallas Cowboys offensive line, it's the number one offensive line in all of the NFL. And if you got Ezekiel Elliott at 100% and domestic charges not hanging over his head, the dude is going to be a top 3 back. Right. No doubt. I think he could be the number 1 back. And he's a rookie because I'm with you on AP. AP is a beast. He's been a beast forever.
Right.
It's getting up. They're going to focus on him. You know, I just can't trust him. He's 31 years old now, I think. So, anyway, he's slowing down. And Todd Gurley, as I mentioned, the Rams are just complete doo-doo. They've got Jared Goff starting from – who are they going to throw to? They got a dude named Brian Quick. They got Kenny Britt, who's been around for – how long has Kenny Britt been around?
I think he played for the Oilers.
I think he did. I mean, he's been around so long. Tavon Austin, you know, the little man. Hopefully he can do some stuff, but I just can't. Anyway, the defenses are going to focus on Todd Gurley.
Right.
He is awesome. So I would go Ezekiel, Todd Gurley, and then AP.
Hey.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, you know, what's the show on HBO? Not Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Have you been watching?
I have not watched this season.
Okay, so episode 1 started last week. They're in LA. They're following the Rams.
Oh, wow.
So
I got to get on that.
Oh, you got to watch it. And actually, I think the show is tonight, second episode tonight,
Okay.
but you can catch up. So anyway, very interesting stuff. Jared Goff. All right, let me just give you. I watched the first show. That don't mean I know Jared Goff from Adam, but they focus in on him a lot. He's aloof. I don't know if this dude's got it. He's like, people are telling jokes, and he's just he doesn't seem like a leader. Let me just, and as a quarterback in the NFL,
Has to be.
You got to be a
have
leader.
To be. You have to be more than a leader.
Yes, you lead by example, and you lead in the locker room. And it just felt like he seemed like he was better than the rest of them.
Oh,
watch it. You tell me. You watch it when we talk next. You tell me what you think. Okay.
Oh, that wasn't what I thought you were saying. That quarterback has to be able to handle each player and each ego.
Sure.
And when they walk in those doors, they have to look at him and say, "That's my example,"
right.
And he's not going to put up with anything.
Right. Well, don't let me get a bad impression, make a bad impression for you. You watch it because he can make every throw. His work ethic seems unparalleled. He stayed out there longer than everybody. That's not the stuff I'm talking about. It's the sideline stuff where he wouldn't interact with anybody. Maybe that's just, maybe he's not an extrovert. Maybe he's very introverted. Maybe, he was having a bad day. It just seemed odd. But let's watch. You watch and see, okay?
All right.
All right, let's keep on going down this list of our top 20 fantasy football, let's say first and second round dudes. So following pick 6, we've got DeAndre Hopkins of the Texans coming in at 7. David Johnson, another running back, his sophomore year. Devontae Freeman coming in at 9. We'll go through Dez Bryant, Rob Gronkowski at 11, and Le'Veon Bell fits the last spot in a 12 pick, first round, let's say. Out of that crew, let's start with DeAndre, who I love.
I was going to say the
DeAndre.
same thing, man.
Actually, if I was doing this, Hank, I might have DeAndre 1, 2, 3. I might put him at 5 or 6. I've seen him go as high as 4 in some of the mocks I've done.
Right.
So
I love him too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he is electric. And if I had that next pick in the group of guys that we're talking about right here, I think he is a must get.
Yes.
Because I do feel like as you're starting to get the Devonta Freemans, the Jamal Charles, the Lamar Millers, you start to fall into that second tier. And this is really Hopkins is really a top-level wide receiver, not top level,
yep.
But he can still hang with those big guys.
Sure
and
he
so
can.
I feel like you're getting a better athlete, a better player. You got better potential out of that instead of just a starting running back.
You know what else you got? So last year, their quarterback was Brian Hoyer. I'm not saying this Osweiler dude coming from Denver is going to be any better. Who knows?
Right.
But potentially he should be. Now you got Lamar Miller in their backfield too, the running back. So they're going to have to key a little bit more on the running back. You've got Will Fuller, who was drafted from Notre Dame, who's a burner. On the other side, you got another guy named Jalen Strong, sophomore year, who they drafted in the second round. They got weapons all over the place, dude.
Right.
And so last year, Hopkins was basically, he had to carry the whole show. Arian Foster got hurt. They had nothing. Now he's got weapons. So DeAndre, look for a huge year from him.
I agree. And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me when the Colts brought in T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah.
Right? And now it helped who was their one receiver when T.Y. came in? Harrison. Marvin Harrison. It helped
Reggie
him.
Wayne.
Reggie Wayne. I'm sorry.
Yep.
It helped Reggie Wayne, right? And that's what those new guys, those young burners, are going to do for Hopkins.
Right.
I feel like he's up for a big year.
Yeah, I believe so too. I wish, because I've got the 8th pick in our draft, which is Saturday, hoping that he might slide. I doubt he will, but I'm hoping for that. Next up, we've got the Devontae Freeman coming off the great year for the Atlanta Falcons, followed by Dez Bryant, Rob Gronkowski, and Le'Veon Bell. Out of those 4, because we already like DeAndre in that 7th spot, where would you rank the next few? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12?
Let me make sure I have it correctly. The Gronk pick for me, I think either you're sold on him being a wide receiver. He's not a tight end. He's a wide receiver,
sure.
Right? So I think you have to get that TE out from beside his name if you're going to draft him, because that bothers me, kind of like it bothers you.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't feel comfortable. And he'll put up big numbers, but I feel like he's the last half of that, and that's my own bias on how I draft. And
sure.
But he is he's a great talent. Devonta Freeman, I like him. I had him last year. He kept me out of the cellar.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And Julio and the rest of the crew is going to give them the ability to run, right? So I would say he's probably I'm going kind of backwards right there.
Yeah.
The 2 others you had are Dez and Le'Veon, right? If you could get Le'Veon Bell in the 2nd round, if you go around your turn and you get him in the 2nd round, you've done something.
You think so?
I feel like you've done something.
That was going to be a question I was specifically going to ask you, because
he would have been 1 or 2 this year.
Overall, 1 or 2, no doubt about it. 4-game suspension. I was talking to a buddy of mine today that said that he might not have that suspension. I think it's done. I mean, it's going to happen. He ain't getting out of that. But if you could get him, I'm willing to take him at the end of the 1st.
Listen,
I think I might do that.
Listen to me. And I'll ask you this question. You're at 8, right?
Yes.
What are you in our league?
Yes, I'm at 8.
8. Okay. If you got, say, Hopkins at 8, and it would be a far fetch, but spun around and got Bell and lost him for 4 games, I would be scared to death to play you. I'd be scared to death to play you in the first 4 games.
I would be so comfortable with that, because as we talked about, there's some running backs are getting pushed back. All you got to do is have a couple running backs get you through those first 4 weeks. In our league, we start 2 running backs?
Yes.
2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 1 flex?
Right.
Yeah, find some depth in the running backs. Round 6, the Matt Fortes, the D'Angelo Williams, who you would, if you do draft Le'Veon Bell, make sure you get D'Angelo Williams.
Right.
But you might have to draft him a round earlier than you would want to, but to make sure you do it. I would love a DeAndre Le'Veon Bell starting 1-2.
Tell me about it.
Holy cow.
Tell me about it. And then the last person was Dez, which Dez is going to get his, because Dez is going to walk over to Tony Romo and tell him to throw him the ball. And life is not easy in the Big D if Dez Bryant is going up and down the sideline. So I feel like he's not that top tier anymore. He's not the best receiver in the league, but he's going to get his numbers. So I feel like he's probably I like Dez. I think he's a solid wide receiver. At
the 10 spot, you feel good right there with him?
Absolutely.
I feel very safe with him. The Devontae Freeman that we talked about earlier, I'll just throw a couple little bit more tidbits of info. If you remember him, and I know you do remember because you had him, toward the end part of the year, he started to fade. Remember, he got banged up a little bit. And there's this other guy there. His name is Tevin Coleman. And
I thought you said Campbell.
Is it It's not Tevin Campbell. It's Tevin Coleman.
It's Coleman.
And during the draft, we acted like it was, can we talk for a minute? Remember that?
Oh, I remember it.
So it's not Tevin Campbell. It's Tevin Coleman. So he was actually drafted in front of Devontae Freeman, but he got hurt at the beginning of the year. So when Devontae Freeman got injured at the end part of the year, Tevin Coleman came in. He actually had 2 100-yard games. So, dude, they're both in the backfield. That's why Freeman worries me a little. Freeman's still a first-round talent, but I think Coleman's going to get some run.
Right. And if I could add to that, it's the same thing that happens with Ryan Matthews, right? And he's a completely different running back and way down the board and whatever. Mm-hmm. But he has never finished a season, ever. Right. He's got this great potential. He's going to start, and he can't finish the season. I feel like Devonta Freeman is the exact same cat. Mm-hmm. He's small. He's quick. You get some of those 300-pounders laying on you, it's not good.
It hurts. And
it hurts.
Coleman's right behind him to pick up the pieces. So I worry about the Freeman a little bit as a first-round pick, but Anyway, let's move to the second round, Hank, and we'll breeze through them. And tell me who you really like in the second round, because there's a couple dudes that really stand out to me. First pick of the second round in our mocks or the ADP values we've seen. A.J. Green comes in at round 2, pick 1, followed by Lamar Miller. We talked about him a little bit earlier out of Houston. Allen Robinson, career year last year for the Jaguars. Dougie Fresh Martin in Tampa Bay. Jordy Nelson, got some injury problems here. Mark Ingram in the 18th hole. Brandon Marshall, 19th. Thomas Rawls, 20. Alshon Jeffrey, 21. Eddie Lacy, 22. Mike Evans, 23. And Sammy Watkins, 24. I'm going to pass it over to you so you can look at it real quick. Let's look at just the first.
Let me pick 2.
Yeah, pick 2. Pick 2 of the real great picks you think in the second round.
I got to tell you, for you starting it out with A.J. Green, if A.J. Green gets in the second round, I think you've scored.
I'm thinking A.J. Green in the 8th hole in our draft.
Yeah, absolutely.
That might be potential there for me.
So just off of this, which I think is, could be viewed a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
I think if you get A.J. Green in the second round, you have done extremely well.
Yes.
Because most of the time, in most of these drafts, he's going to be in the first. The other person I like, Ingram. I mean, they're showing him falling late in the second round.
Yeah.
It may even fall to me at 1. And I love Ingram because
why? Tell me why.
Well, he got hurt, right? And he was a monster before he got hurt. And I can tell you, they're going to keep loading that guy up and letting him run the ball because he proves when he's healthy, he wants to do it and he runs downhill.
And I don't think there's anybody else behind him really to take much of the carries as long as he's healthy. We're talking about a Drew Brees offense. He's a New Orleans Saint.
Right.
Drew Brees likes to throw it all over the place. You could see Mark Ingram touch pass interference down to the 1. Ingram, 1 yard plunge.
Right.
2 touchdowns a game he could get just because of the offense he runs in.
Right. But he was last year. He was doing 100-yard games every game. He's a solid pick in the late second round.
Sure.
I think that's your guy.
I agree with that. And actually, he started to catch the ball in the backfield too, or he showed that last year. Let's talk a little bit about the Doug Martin, Jordy Nelson back-to-back pick 16 and 17. Doug Martin had a comeback year last year. I'm not trusting him this year. You got Charles Sims, who's their second-year running back talent, who loves to catch the ball to the backfield.
Right.
Doug Martin, kind of not a little dude, but he's a small guy. He's injury prone. I don't know if I could risk a second round pick. What are you thinking?
I agree with you. I mean, I think that he did have a good year, and that's going to fool a lot of people.
Exactly. That's why he is where he is on this list.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to fool a lot of people. But if you had the choice of Jordy Nelson or Doug Martin, Jordy, and they're healthy. Let's say they're both healthy because they're both dealing with some of their injuries. Jordy Nelson's going to get his. And Aaron
Are you worried at all, though? Are you worried at Jordy?
Absolutely.
Coming off the knee?
I don't want him.
I'm not going to draft him.
I don't want him.
That's why I picked those 2, because they're back-to-back. I don't want them on my team.
Right.
Either of those dudes.
I said if they're both healthy.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I think that they're both suspect health. And the National Football League has proven that once you get injured, there's some history to that.
Sure.
And I'm with you. I think your first 2 rounds, you got to feel solid about them. I mean, you got to feel good about them.
They got to play and produce, or you are screwed,
right?
Man,
right. And I even like you take second, third rounds. Brandon Marshall is in that mix. I like that he's excited about this year. I like that he's calling Brown out.
Sure,
I love that.
Dude, I've seen many ADP value sheets and mock drafts with Brandon Marshall, the last pick of round 1. I put Marshall in front of Jordy. I put Marshall in front of Doug Martin. I put Brandon Marshall. They got Thomas Rawls here for Seattle. He's coming off a broken ankle. They don't even know where he's going to be. Right. I got Marshall in front of him. I got Marshall in front of Alshon Jeffrey. I got Marshall in front of Eddie Lacy. Here's a dude. Watch this dude. Mike Evans. All right, Tampa Bay in year 3. They say Jameis Winston looks like a superstar.
Yeah.
And Jameis Winston loves him some Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Loves him some Mike Evans. So look for that combo. That could really work well.
They said that Jameis Winston came back ready to play.
The locker room loves him. We were just talking about Jared Goff, how it might not work there. They said the locker room loves him.
He's a party.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Enthusiasm, energy. He seems like he cares.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like.
Why wouldn't he be a guest on this show?
Yes. Come on, Jameis. We need you, baby. Just come on down. 6th floor, highest building in Hickory. And last but not least, to round out round 2, they've got Sammy Watkins penciled in as last pick of round 2. You think that's where he fits? Round 2, last pick?
I think he's further in 3.
I do too. I think round 2, last pick's a little high for me.
I do too. And I know he's coming off an injury, and I think that there's a lot of buzz about the Bills this year. And Taylor's got an opportunity. I mean, he got paid.
Yeah.
Is that going to affect his performance? Because he was hungry. Is it going to be the type of year that they expect him to have? But I think you can pick him up late in the 3rd round. I don't think you need to waste a 2nd round pick on that guy.
I think you probably won't. If you want him, you're not going to get him late 3rd round, mid to early, because I think he'll go like round 3, pick 4, round 3, pick 3, somewhere around there. Right. Because the dude's got all the talent in the world, but he's just got to stay on the field.
Right.
Yeah. Good job, dude. That's the way we just wrapped up our first 2-round kind of ADP review, mock draft review, whatever you want. Oh, Hank, let's do this before we leave, and this will be the last segment. Wanted to mention, guys, this is our first show. You're going to be able to download us on iTunes, okay? So go to the Fantasy Formula, download us for free on iTunes. Hank and I are also going to send massive emails to many of the people that we do know in the Mesh Network to a link to the show. Guys, click it. Just push the button subscribe. That's all you got to do. You push it one time, it'll download. And so when you go on your phone or whatever device you're using to listen to podcast or music, it'll pop up right in your podcast list. All you have to do, push subscribe one time. And it's there.
That
it's
easy.
It's that easy.
Even the guys in our league could do this.
Yes, exactly.
They probably should.
Will, you can even do this.
We'll do this. Yes. CJ, get your car phone out.
So anyway, you guys help support us. Help support the sponsors that support this show. We'll talk about those more as the year progresses. But before we leave you, we are going to be back tomorrow, Hank. And we are going to be back Thursday, too, I believe. So we're going to have 3 shows in a row. All of them should be up by week's end, so everybody can get their fantasy formula fix. Let's talk about it. You had a mock draft that you did last night or a day or two ago.
Right.
Talk about the people that you were able to draft and their round and all that good stuff, and maybe just a quick reason why. And, let's start there. Go ahead.
Okay. So when I looked at this, I'm in the first spot, obviously. So I'm looking. I've had plenty of time. I don't have to think about anybody in front of me, what I'm going to do. And just like in the last segment, we talked about who's the best guy on the board, and he is feet above people. We feel like, and that's Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
So I think that at 1, sometimes you're not excited to be 1. Sometimes you're not. This year, I think it's that spot is worth a lot of money.
I love it. Yeah.
I do too.
I'd rather have that spot than any of the other spots in the first round on the board. Sometimes I was like last year, I hated the number 1 spot last year. It was between AP and Le'Veon Bell and Antonio. It's a bunch of names.
Right.
I'd rather have like the 4th spot. But this year, number 1, easy.
It's an easy pick. And to tell you about, the listeners about our league, we're a 12-person league. So, it gets a little bit easier with those 10, 8-person leagues. So we're at 12. Next pick, Mark Ingram fell to me.
Oh, so last pick of round 2.
Round 2. So snaked
draft.
around. Last pick, Mark Ingram. Now, we talked about him before. I think he is going to be – I still think the Saints' offense is very prolific.
Yes.
And, they're high energy, high firepower. I think that's going to be important this year because – the year that I won it, it was with Drew Brees at the helm. It was with Darren Sproles. It was with those guys.
Question for you before we get off the Ingram. Let's say Jamal Charles, Mark Ingram are there in that spot. Who do you take?
I like Jamal Charles.
Better than Ingram?
Probably. Okay. Probably. I think that he's accustomed to the workload, although this is, he's got some injury problems too, and I think they rely on him. Mark Ingram could go away for a while, and the Saints would be just fine.
Right.
I think they run their, Kansas City's going to run their offense somewhat through Charles, and that gives me a warm and fuzzy feeling on the inside.
Right.
And so I think that I would probably – now they're close. If I lost Charles and got Ingram – I'd be fine with that too.
Yeah, ADP values right now have Ingram 18 and Charles at 25, but I've seen that flip-flop. I've seen Charles going mid-second round and Ingram falling to like where he fell for you. All right, tell me about round 3.
Brandon Cooks.
Love it.
Yep. If I could get him in the 3rd round on that snake draft, he's going to get a ton of balls this year.
I think Cooks could go as early, and I'm talking about in our league, as early as 2nd round, first 4 picks.
Right.
I'm telling you, because He's in that offense. He's Bree's go-to guy. This is year 3. This is his year, man.
Right.
So I love that pick. That's awesome value.
So then you go to round 4, picked up Matt Jones.
Running back, Washington Redskins off the board. Oh, this is questionable here. So why Matt Jones at that spot?
Well,
what other running backs or what other guys were around you at that spot?
Deion Lewis, Arian Foster, Jeremy Langford.
Okay, then Matt Jones all day.
Yeah.
Give me a couple of the Are there some receivers or anything in front of you right around there?
So coming back, so I get to come back around.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get the next pick, and I took Moncrief.
Okay.
Okay.
Love Moncrief.
So now I have Antonio Brown, Cooks, Moncrief as my receivers.
Yes.
Firepower right there.
That's fantastic.
Mark Ingram, Matt Jones.
Yes.
Who Matt Jones, has got a good offensive around him. I feel good about him. Okay. So now those are my 5 offensive players, which loving it.
Yeah.
The next people taken behind me were Arian Foster, Deion Lewis, Jeremy Langford, Greg Olson, Golden Tate,
Yeah.
D'Angelo, Andrew Luck, Jonathan Stewart, Eric Decker. So, I like Decker.
Yes.
I like Decker, but, I went with Moncrief. I think that in his if Luck's going to have a good year,
And Luck will.
And Luck will.
Have a good year.
I would rather have Moncrief than Eric Decker.
Me too. I completely agree. I think Decker, he scored a bunch of touchdowns last year. But Decker's a little bit older. Moncrief's young, right? And he's in this Andrew Luck prolific passing offense that T.Y. Hilton's going to get a lot of coverage. Moncrief might be a top 10 wide receiver. I'm not kidding you at the end of the year. He really could be in that offense.
I agree.
I love Moncrief.
I agree. So I didn't see anybody in that round that I would have taken over him. So if you come back to me, this is where the quarterback train starts rolling.
Coming off the board.
Yep. So in the 5th round, Andrew Luck was taken. You go over to the 6th, which is I'm at the end of.
Yes.
Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady. I picked John Brown from Arizona.
So all those quarterbacks go off the board in round 6.
Right.
All right. So look at the value in round 6. Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Ben Roethlisberger.
Russell Wilson.
And Russell Wilson. In round 6.
In round 6.
Last year, those quarterbacks would have gone in round 1, 2, and 3.
Absolutely.
Now you're in round 6.
Absolutely.
So
now we're turning on 7. I've got 4 wide receivers, 2 running backs at this point.
John Brown. I love John Brown.
Steal. He's a steal.
Great. 6th round.
So this is where I don't feel like I loved my draft here, but Coby Fleener.
In a New Orleans Saints offense, who Breeze, from what I read on all the reports, Breeze and Fleener really getting along good.
Right.
That's the Jimmy Graham spot. When Jimmy Graham set all those tight end records, that was the Drew Brees to Jimmy Graham, now Drew Brees to Coby Fleener.
Right.
Probably a top 5 tight end for sure this year.
Oh, absolutely. And Gronk came off in the 2nd round of this one. Reed was off in the 4th. Olsen in the 5th.
Yeah.
The cat from Kansas City was in the 6th.
Travis Kelce.
And I got Fleener in the 7th.
Yeah. I think he probably should go right around there. I've seen him go as early as 6th. So you got him in the 7th.
And Walker and those guys fell in the same round. And Thomas. So they all kind of fell in that same round.
Yeah.
So I liked, I usually don't take it. I was struggling with it because I don't take a tight end usually. Unless it's one of those top, it pains me to leave somebody, to take them somewhat earlier than the others because Ertz was picked in the 9th round, and that Barnage guy from Cleveland, he's going to be nice. I feel like
he got RG3 thrown to him though. So, but the reason I really like the Coby Fleener there is because he could be, Breeze got Brandon Cooks to go to, but in the red zone, Cooks in a real big dude. Coby Fleener could get a lot of targets. Right. A lot of targets. So good. Keep going.
So now we're going to go down the 7th, back up the 8th, and this is where you start to see wide receivers and running backs. This is what we're talking about. You're getting, and I didn't have a chance to get these guys, but this is where you see Danny Woodhead, Forsett, Bernard. You start to see those guys that change of pace backs that are definitely going to be good running backs, but look at how deep that is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty deep.
Bernard 2 years ago was going in the 2nd round.
Right.
Last year he was going in the 5th. Now he's fallen all the way back to the 8th.
Right.
Eli
Manning, the 8th.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
Marvin Jones was picked right before me. Michael Crabtree.
Crabtree.
Right.
Raiders, because you got to have a Raider on your team. You being a big Raider fan that you are. Crabtree getting a little older, but Carr will look for him.
Yes, he will.
He's not really the burner and go get you the touchdowns that he used to, but he's possession receiver. I would compare him to an Anquan Bolden when Anquan Bolden was doing all his 100 catches a year. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That kind of possession
I feel like
receiver.
he's a safe receiver. He's not going to start for me because he's my fifth receiver.
Sure.
Right? So, I might have missed out somewhere, but as I'm turning from the 8th round to the 9th, TJ Yeldon.
Yeah, running back.
Running back, 9th round. Coleman was there, Tevin Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
But, he's splitting. So I don't feel like I necessarily lost something. Bly Powell, gosh, I've watched that guy come on and off my team for years. I can't do it. I won't do it anymore. It's like a divorce with him. I cannot.
And us being a PPR league, too, Bly Powell, he will catch balls, dude.
Yeah.
He catches balls out of the backfield. What you're doing here in these late rounds, you're building depth. If you lose a running back, you've got a Yeldon to fill in.
Sure.
If you lose a flex, we got a bye week, you got a Bly Powell to fill in. So, yes, you're building depth. This is good.
9th round, 2 defenses get taken off the board.
There they go.
Denver, Arizona.
Yes.
Still have Phillip Rivers at the end of that round.
Wow.
Yeah. Jimmy Graham is in that one. You make the turn to round 10, Derek Carr, Charles Sims.
Yes.
There are Seattle's D, Tony Romo, Kirk Cousins. This is where I get my quarterback, Matthew Stafford.
Yes. Love Stafford.
Okay. So Stafford in the 10th, which I thought was awesome.
Dude.
Cannot beat that.
If y'all remember this, Jim Bob Cooter, the offensive coach who actually, I don't know if he became the head guy. I don't know what happened to Detroit, but the last, let's say, 5 weeks when he was actually calling plays for Matt Stafford, fantasy points, top 5 quarterback the last 5 weeks of the year. Dude, Stafford's got all the talent. He just needs some good play. He needs Jim Bob Cooter. And so Jim Bob Cooter is now calling plays. I think that's good things in store for Matt Stafford.
Right. So coming around 11, and I'll speed this up, Carlos Williams, running back for Buffalo. He could see carries. If somebody gets hurt, we're just, like you said, providing a little bit of depth.
Carlos Williams, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's got suspended. But not for the year. It's like a 2-week or 4-week for, I think brother blowing some weed. I think he got busted for for some type of drugs.
I'm sorry to hear that, Carlos, and I'm sorry that I picked you.
Hang in there, buddy.
So, and that's the risk you run in these late flyers.
Yeah.
You may not know the third running back on Buffalo got busted for, weed or whatever.
Right.
So that's why even the people on the fantasy formula are helping each other out. That's the beauty of it.
Every day we do.
That's the beauty of it. So I'll just go down my next pick. I got a little bit preoccupied at this point. It might have drafted for me because it took a defense in round 12.
Yes,
the Patriots. I would have never have done that, but
right.
I have the Patriots there, and then it took Tannehill as my second string quarterback, and my man Janikowski is my kicker.
Janikowski, gotta have him on your team. Gotta have him on your team. Wait, Hank, that's not bad. That's not a bad fantasy team in a 12-team PPR. Dude, the wide receivers to me in that one are stand out nasty. I mean, they should be fantastic. So
can I ask if I just go down the 8th pick, pose this? This was your team. If I pose this is your team.
Read it.
8th pick, okay? And I'm not including anybody. AJ Green, first pick. Mm-hmm. Brandon Marshall in the second round.
Love it.
Woo.
Love it.
Woo.
Love both those guys.
Doug Martin.
Oy, no, thank you. But round 3, number 1, no, I couldn't do it.
And to be honest with you, you had Carlos Hyde, C.J. Anderson.
I take Hyde in front and C.J. Anderson in front of Doug
Forte.
Martin. Forte close. Maybe. Forte close.
Okay. Doug Baldwin.
Okay.
Andrew Luck.
Okay.
Melvin Gordon.
All right.
Julius Thomas.
This team is not making the playoffs. This team will not make the playoffs.
This gentleman, known as the Shockers, did not have a good draft.
I mean, not terrible. Julius Thomas, I just feel like you get him later as a tight end. I like the Luck pick, but maybe one round early. I want to get Luck in maybe round 6.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
Well, now let's talk about what we just had happen here, okay? Every one of us has fallen into fantasy football depression. Okay?
Yes.
And then this happens. This is real.
Sure.
This is real. Sure. Wake up the morning after your draft with all these high hopes. You see what you scribbled down. The first more legible than the last. And you realized, I'm a non-playoff team. I'm a non-playoff team. Is it not a horrible feeling?
Bad feeling.
And it's happened to the best of us.
Sure.
And this gentleman, the Shockers, he had a bad beat. He got a bad beat on that one.
Yeah. Good luck, Shockers.
Good luck, Shockers.
Well, Hank, thank you so much for episode 1, volume 4. It's in the books, baby. Job well done. Very proud of you. Guys, stay tuned. We're going to be back tomorrow, and we're going to be back Thursday with 3 shows back to back to back, getting you guys caught up on all the fantasy knowledge you need because drafts start. I've got my first draft Friday, got my second draft with our league Saturday, and then I'm traveling for my out-of-town draft the following weekend. So, man, it's upon us, Hank.
Hey,
it's right here.
You got to do it when it's hot, and it's hot now.
Here we go, buddy. So, guys, stay tuned. We'll be back in touch with you tomorrow. Again, thanks to our sponsor, and we'll see you soon. Peace.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.